Hey there, it's Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. It's that time of the month again. Time for my wrap-up. Okay, so technically this is my Biblio Games wrap-up. However, I kind of dropped out the Biblio Games because I suck. And I was finding it really hard to update the sheet, so I kind of gave up on it. But I did do some reading, so, you know, I still read. So I don't have very much time to film this, so sorry if this is a little bit rushed, but I'm gonna do my best to tell you about what I read. First up this month, I read One Punch Man Volume 4. So this is obviously a continuation of the One Punch Man manga written by Yusuke Murata. If you don't know anything about One Punch Man, it's basically a parody of the superhero trope, and it's just hilarious, and there's loads of monsters, and just this one really random bald guy, and he's awesome. And I still love it. We're still on where the TV show got to, so I still know what happens, but like I just find it so funny, and I just want to keep reading it. I had to buy the next... Well, actually, I bought 5 through 10 because it was cheaper to do that than to buy them separately, and I'm definitely going to be continuing with this one. Next up, I read Boruto Next Generations, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. So this is interesting for me because I never watched Naruto. Like, I have never watched nor read Naruto. My little brother Callum has just sort of really got into it. I bought him a Crunchyroll subscription for his last Christmas present, and now he's like an anime fiend. And these are actually his books. He has bought them even though he doesn't really read, so I had to read them because I was like, oh okay, this is getting my bro into reading, so I feel like I should read them, and I'm really enjoying them. I like how sort of fun it is, and I like a lot of the imagery. I think I probably would have benefited from knowing more about like the original characters. I'm forming my own impressions of them, and I know that that's not how they were originally. I'm really enjoying it. I've also got 4 and 5 to read during July, so I'll be pretty into that. Next up, I read a thriller that's been given to me by one of my really good friends, and that is The Steel Kiss by Jeffrey Deaver. Now this is the first Jeffrey Deaver book that I've read, and it's okay. I think it was a little bit longer than it needed to be honest. So this book has kind of sort of 2 main protagonists, as well as a killer that we're following. You have a detective called Amelia Sachs who is on the hunt for this guy who just kills lots of people and is a very nasty man, as is typical with this sort of book. The other character you follow is a former detective and also quadriplegic man called Lincoln Rhyme, and they sort of are working on separate things. Yeah, and it just goes from there. Now, I found it really interesting, and I like how a lot of things happened, and I like the disability representation. There's more than one disabled character in this book. I found it really interesting. It was too long for me though. Like, I think it was 600 something pages. Yeah, it's like 620 pages, and I feel like you could have cut out about 100, 150 pages from this, and it would have been a lot snappier, and it would have just got there a lot quicker. That's just a personal gripe on my part, but like, I still enjoyed it. I'd definitely be willing to read more by Jeffrey Deaver, but yeah, this one got a solid 3 stars for me just because it rambled quite a lot. Next up, I actually listened to The Queen of the Tearling, but then I bought the book in physical copy. So The Queen of the Tearling is one of those sort of booktube staples that was really popular back in the day, and then everyone seems to have stopped talking about it. And I really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy world where the main character is going to be queen, although she's sort of been hidden away for most of her life. And the Queen's Guard have come to take her back so that she can actually resume her right as the queen now that she's old enough. Only everybody wants to kill her. I mean, literally everybody wants to kill her. So it's fun. And I really like that there's characters called like the Mace and the Fetch, and like, I love it when characters don't have names, but they're just sort of like nicknamed and professioned, and I'm like, yeah, let's just go with that. So I really like the idea of this, and I really like where it's going, and I can't wait to read the next one. The next book that I picked up was My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyenkan Braithwaite. And I thought this book was okay. I wasn't really sure what to think about it because everyone said it was sort of like dark comedy, and I was like, that's so misleading. I don't know who said that. I think that was a lot of people thinking that that's what it was going to be about, but it's not what it was about. You basically follow Korede, who's a nurse, and her sister just happens to kill men. She claims that they keep attacking her, and then she's doing it in self-defense, and then Korede helps her to clean it all up, basically, and I don't know. I found it really hard to connect with the characters because obviously you feel for Korede because she's like, her sister is the beautiful one, the one that gets everything, and she is the one that's got all the responsibility, and it's really difficult but she's also not particularly pleasant lady, so I don't know, I found it quite hard to connect with it, and but I thought it was interesting anyway. I like that sort of story. It was very different. It's worth checking out. It just wasn't what I was expecting it to be, which I think was the jarring thing for me. And I think I would have liked it a bit more if I hadn't heard someone predict, I think it was a prediction, that it was a dark comedy. So next up, I went back to my nostalgic roots and read Eclipse and The Short Second Life of Britannia, because Twilight. Okay, so I've been getting a little bit of jip for reading these. I read this one and I thought I kind of have to read this one too, because it needs to get done and you might as well read it at the same time so that it sort of goes together. And yeah, so Eclipse used to be my favourite of the Twilight books. Not really sure why, to be honest. Anyone else think that Jacob and Edward are kind of assholes? More Jacob than this, like, you want me. You want me, you just don't know you want me. And that, to me, is a bit rapey, Jacob. It's a bit rapey. So, I mean, let's be real, he does kiss her without her permission in this book, so that is super fucking dodgy. Don't do that. You know, consent. That's a good thing to have. This one annoyed me this time, but it did get me into that whole, oh, YA, love, blah, blah, sort of thing, and I do still have nostalgia for Twilight, so this is why I still kind of enjoyed it, even though I was, like, super irritated by the annoying fucking characters and their stupid decisions. But you know, so I'm gonna put this one down now. Now, this one I only ever read once, and I actually enjoyed it the first time I read it. This time, I thought it was an utter waste of time, because if you want to talk about insta-love, this is so insta-lovey that I wish I could die. And I mean, I know she's really young, she's only supposed to be like 15, but at the same time, so dull, so just rubbish. It just seemed so pointless. There wasn't enough new to not be pointless, and I don't know. I don't know why I liked it, I don't know why I thought this was fine, but you know, oh well. The next book that I picked up was Elephant Shoe by J.S. Edge. So this is a book that Kaz from Cats and Camera has been recommending on her channel for a while, and I keep saying, oh, I'll read that one, and I bought it on my Kindle ages ago, ready to read, but because I so rarely pick up my Kindle, I just haven't read it yet. And then one of the challenges for the Biblio Games was to read something out of your comfort zone, and I was going to read The Foxhole Court, but then I thought, no, I'm going to read that because Pride Month, so I ended up reading that one, and I loved it. It was really cute. It was also, like, so angsty, and obviously they're totally okay for the angst, and to be honest, I just found it really touching. So in this book you have LGBT gay representation, and you also have disability representation, but I'm not going to tell you what because that's a major spoiler for the book. Also the main character, Gwen, has a form of dementia, and so I have mentioned on this channel before that dementia is like the most terrifying thing in the world to me. A couple of my relatives have had and do currently have dementia, and I find that a really difficult thing to read about. It's terrifying how you can just sort of lose someone in like a second, and then like 10 minutes later they can be back to normal and can be exactly who they were. And I thought that was really well represented in this book, and the way that it is so difficult for the characters to deal with, that really... I really felt that. The romance was cute, and there was a lot of people like not quite communicating properly, but that does happen in YA romances, so we'll let that go. But like honestly, just cuteness. I enjoyed it very much, and I think more people should read this one. Then I picked up Darkest Mercy by Melissa Marr. So this is the 5th and final book in the Wicked Lovely series, and I so didn't want to read this one because I was like, I don't want it to end again. And some bad things happen in this book that I didn't want to happen. This book traumatized me a little bit the first time I read it, so there's that. It is a really good book. The way it ends just makes me happy. I have been rambling about this series for a while now, so you probably already know. It's an urban fantasy YA book about Fae, and there's different courts, like the Summer Court, the Winter Court, the Dark Court, the High Court. It's all very interesting, and some of the characters are just amazing, and I love them so much. So it was really good to have the conclusion, even if I didn't want to read it, because I was like, I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end ever. I'm just going to end up rereading it again. You just know that's going to happen. I might make it to next year. Maybe. And the last book that I completed this month was Surreal by Garth Nix. Okay, there's people. They're gone. And the last book that I read this month was Surreal by Garth Nix. This book follows Surreal, whose father goes missing, and she has to go and track him down because he's lost in the world of the dead. Sounds more interesting than it was. This was a different challenge for the Biblio Games, and that is a book that someone else picked for you. I didn't really enjoy it. Now, There are two factors for me not enjoying this. One, I think I would have enjoyed it if I'd read it as a teenager. Two, I'd already put this book on I might unhaul this pile. I'd like literally unshelved it and I was gonna take it away. I was already not that keen on this book anyway, but I was reading it because I was like, I already own it, and then I might as well, because then it saves me buying anything else. And so my biggest problem with this book is that it reads extremely passively, in the same sort of way that it's like, she was going over there and then this was this and this is what happened, and there's a lot of telling and not showing, and you don't really feel for the characters, you don't get like really involved with them, you just like, oh, and that person was going on a journey and that is where she went, and then she came across a thing and that is what happened. And that's what it felt like to me, so I was quite disappointed in that, but I definitely think I would have actually been more invested in it if I'd read it when I was much younger than I am now. It's sort of like wading into a river and then getting to the other side and realising that the only reason you did that was so that you'd get your feet wet. Just a bit dull, really. And honestly, I feel like I gave this book its best shot because I listened to the audiobook and the narrator for that was Tim Curry. Tim Curry. And I feel like if Tim Curry can't make me interested in an audiobook, then there was just no hope for it. So unfortunately, despite there being some interesting aspects of this book, I didn't enjoy it. If you read any of these books that I've talked about in this video, then please let me know your thoughts about them below. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!